Hey there, YouTube land, and tonight we're doing one of my favorite things of all time. So I've got my spot of tea. I'm going to talk about this. Is probably going to be the first in a couple of videos I'm going to do about this one here. But this is the first one I'm doing tonight, and it's my Doctor Who collection. And I did a couple collections recently from A to Z, which was pretty easy to do when you're talking about your like movie companies there, because it's basically a film or a film set. But this year with Doctor Who, it was such a long-lasting series. Doctor Who lasted, well, from the early 60s until 1989, the year that I graduated, actually. And yeah, so it came back, of course, years later in the 2000s, and first season series went really well with Christopher Eccleston. Then it was they brought on someone else because Eccleston left, which was David Tennant, and they thought, well, is this going to do well? So here in Canada, CBC actually co-funded and co-produced Series 2 and Series 3 of Doctor Who, which is your Canadian connection. That, and aside from the fact that, Doctor Who, some of the original creators were Canadian. So, yeah. I'm taking as much credit for this English program as I possibly can. Anyway, so here's my Doctor Who collection from classics, right from the original, to the newest. I'll talk about stories that I like. I'm not going to talk about them too much, though, because I'm thinking of having another video or two on one of my favorite characters, and the great Time Lord, Doctor who causes many debates in this house about whether Doctor Who should be become female or not. And I would love to see her Mana series. That would be awesome. Or see the writing in Doctor Who. That being said, let's go on to I love
fictional character. Fictional character.
I always love to get with that one. So I have some original Doctor Who. William Hartnell was the first actor to play Doctor Who, and he played him brilliantly. William Hartnell had done a lot of like older roles. He was used to playing older characters, characters that were older than him, and he often played that in a lot of the Carry On, in the original Carry On film, and on many roles that he did. So Doctor Who was like an older Crouchy at the beginning, kind of like Time Lord, the alien that you didn't know much about, that traveled through space and time. He just seemed to be the perfect fit for it, and he really was. So I've only got a few of his. I've got the Aztecs. It's signed by Carole Ann Ford and Verdi Lambert. And if you are a fan of Doctor Who, you know what that is. Aztecs is one that's a lot of people consider like one of the greats for the original Doctor, William Hartnell. It wasn't my favorite, though. I mean, like when I originally saw it, people said to watch the Aztecs first, and that will be the one that would like really sell me on Hartnell. And although I liked the Aztecs, it was a good story, it wasn't the one that sold me on Hartnell. We'll get to the one that actually did. And it's not one that you normally think, because that's not one that people usually choose. Planet of Giants I just found this one really fun, a little bit gimmicky, but you know, back then it was a very cool series. I find that a lot of the black and white stuff tends to have kind of a creepier, more atmospheric feel to it. Maybe it's because it's black and white. Maybe it's because once the color came into the series, you're able to see the effects more, and you could see a lot of. You can hide a lot with black and white. The one that got me into the original Doctor was actually a different one. It was a 6-part story, serialized one that each part was almost like a separate adventure, but it all came together with one big one. Later on, they would do like complete serials, or like complete series with it, like this. But this one here, the Keys of Marinus, is the one that actually got me to dig the Doctor, and I was really a big fan of Carole Ann Ford. And yeah, Carole Ann Ford. By the way, the Aztecs is also signed by William Russell. It looks like I did time her buffalo chicken flings with some pine for her. Next up is some Patrick Troughton. I'm a really big fan of Troughton. So I'm doing my singles first, then I'll do my box sets. That's why you're not seeing some stuff that's in the box set yet. Is the Crotons. The Crotons were like a villain that were created to basically, hopefully, take the place of the Daleks. See, the Daleks became really popular early on. If you're a Doctor Who fan, you know what the Daleks are. And they were created by Terry Nation. Now, they didn't want to do the Daleks first. This became the second serial that Doctor Who did. But basically, they want to know bug-eyed monsters. They want to know Dalek-like creatures. the Daleks became extremely popular almost immediately. Unfortunately, what that meant was that Terry Nation actually owned the rights to the characters of the Daleks, and often would say he was taking them back. He was going to take them. He was going to spin them off, do their own thing with them. The Daleks actually got a comic book. They spun off into 2 films with Peter Cushing as a Doctor Who from Earth, and so every once in a while the producers would come in and they would bring this other creature that they wanted to be like the to be like a replacement for the Daleks, if the Daleks can never come back in Doctor Who again. And one of those was the Crotons. And no, they were not a replacement for the for Doctor. Just saying. For the Daleks, no, not at all. But it's a fun episode. I think it was 4 parts. This one, I can't remember now. But it has a really good thing. A lot of these have really good features. I should mention a couple of these actually as we're going through. The Crotons was the one I bought, and I didn't buy it for this story because this was not one of my favorite stories. But there was a second time around, which is a complete retrospective on Patrick Troughton's Second Doctor's career. And I'm a huge fan of Troughton. Unfortunately, many of his stories have been lost over the years. But this is a 52-minute long documentary all about his era in Doctor Who. Just incredible stuff. War Games was the last one. This is Troughton's swan song. It runs 10 episodes. Really, seriously, 10 episodes. And you know what? You think it would kind of lag and be kind of like meh. But War Games is a really good one. This one is actually a 3-disc set. I gotta say, big fan of War Games. And again, so many great features, so many different things here. One on the Target novelizations that this time using author Malcolm Halkey, who did a lot of them. Strip for Action, Second Doctor, basically a comic retrospective of the comic strips of Patrick Troughton's Doctor. Just so many great things. Now let's get into the era that I really remember well and that I really dug. That is Jon Pertwee. I'm lucky enough to have my favorite Pertwee story here, and which you guys will see. Not the first one. Day of the Daleks. This is when they brought back the Daleks, but they gave him kind of a different voice, and it really threw it off. Luckily, on this one here, they've kind of remastered it and put the Daleks' original voice back in. But it's kind of with some extra special effects and stuff like that as well. It's really kind of cool to see how it was done. I really dig a lot of these here. Day of the Daleks was kind of a fun one. I remember it's got a great making of, and it has the unit family where they interview different people that played unit characters on the series. It usually runs around 30 minutes long per segment. There's 3 segments done over 3 different Doctor Who sets. Now this one here, pretty cool. I remember I was waiting to get one come in the mail, and I was waiting. And I was like, I can't wait any longer. I need my Doctor Who. And so she was like, okay. So we went to the store, and we picked this up. And it was not cheap either. We did not pick that one up cheap. And the next day, my Doctor Who came in from the other place. So, just saying. Always sook. It helps.
No.
Death to the Daleks. This one here I got at where was it? At Costco, I think. They had a bunch of them that were on Costco at the time. They were on for fairly decent prices. So we just grabbed every one of them. And I haven't watched Death to the Daleks yet. I do think I watched the feature, and I did actually. I watched the making of, which is really good. There's a lot of really good stuff on these here. Just some incredible features. The features are like, even when the episodes are so, and you're like, okay, I'm going to watch this, but I'm not going to watch this every day. The features, you watch more than you can even imagine. So they're just great features on Doctor Who discs. And now we're getting to my favorite Doctor Who episode from Jon Pertwee. Without a doubt, don't even have to think about it. It's The Daemons. The Daemons is my very favorite Jon Pertwee Doctor Who episode. It's got a real cool, kind of a Wicker Man-ish type of feel to it. Of course, it's got Roger Delgado's Master. This was story number 59. I think this may be in series, I'm not sure if it's series 8 or not. But it's got a lot of really great stuff in here. Remembering Barry Letts, there's a great thing on this one here. Again, another 2-disc set. And just a gorgeous episode. Master, kind of his best, playing a vicar, actually, to basically trick this town. It's a really cool episode. You just got to see it. There's just so many kind of cool classic lines, classic scenes from it that you can't not love this one here. The next one is characters that I would like to see come back, but they haven't, and it's a shame. I'm sure that when Stephen Moffat was thinking up the Weeping Angels, that visually at least he thought about the episode of Claws of Axis, and if you'll see why I mean that kind of, yeah. So again, it's another one with with John Pertwee. Roger Delgado was in this one, and this is the first companion, and Joe. Is that the first one, Joe? It is Joe. Okay, so it is Joe Grant, second one. She was. He had two major companions, and the third one he had was Elizabeth Slade and Sarah Jane, who become a very big companion when it came into to the next Doctor's era. And let's get on to that next Doctor, because I got a few of his episodes. Considered one of the greatest Doctor Who stories ever made, and by me still probably, definitely the greatest Doctor Who story ever written, is the Genesis of the Daleks. This is when Tom Baker, now playing Doctor Who, and probably the most famous person known as Doctor Who. Who was your Doctor, Hint?
Oh, Tom Baker.
Tom Baker. Yeah, I asked my friend, actually, as well, from work, Kelly, and she said the exact same thing. Tom Baker. I think everybody around our age range, and even younger, because much younger, was like, we all know Baker. He seems to be the one that stands out. Like, if you know the original series, Tom Baker tends to be the guy, all teeth and curls. He just had an extravagant way about him that I guess it goes over.
Voice.
I think it's the voice.
Yeah, I think. Well, for me, it was.
It was the voice. He just has such a commanding presence, and he really does seem alien. Baker is a very extravagant man, and very unique. And Genesis of the Daleks is a fantastic episode. This actually introduces the character of Davros, the creator of the Daleks, and we get to see their basically, literally, the genesis of the Daleks, their origin. This is a fantastic story, and it deals with a lot of repercussions of kind of like that whole thing. If you could go back in time and you could kill evil, you could kill Hitler as a baby, well, what do? Do you kill innocence before it's evil? Or does history have to make its own way? And that is basically the dilemma that the Doctor's put in. Can he kill off the Daleks now when he still sees there's a chance for good? Is it in his right to change history, to alter the course of time? And he often alters the course of time many, many ways. But this is one time when he really seriously has to think about it. It's a great story, just some fantastic acting. Davros is such a great, rich character that has not been utilized in the new Doctor Who series that well. He came in for one episode in, I think, series 4, actually. 1 or 2 episodes. And I mean, like, in the new series, the Doctor Who older villains are usually pretty much cycled in, taken out, and just like get usually shown in the final episode type of thing, where basically they come into it like, oh look, it's Davros, it's the Cybermen, it's Daleks, but Davros unfortunately hasn't been in enough, and it's a very great character. Next up is the one that I remember the most. It was the first one that I bought from Britain. You can tell the Region 2 ones because they got this really cool like silver type look to them, and I prefer them actually over the Region 1 ones. And this one is the Deadly Assassin. This is the Return of the Master. Of course, Roger Delgado, who had played the Master, he had been going to do one more storyline, which basically ended off the Master's story. It was rumored that one of the things that they thought of it was making the Master and the Doctor brothers. We'll never know because, unfortunately, Roger Delgado died in a car accident. And the character was like pretty much left off screen for a long time. Then they basically realized they needed to bring the Master back again, and they weren't quite sure how to do it. So this is the Doctor's only story, by the way, in the original series on his own. Every other story has a companion in it somewhere, but this is the one there is absolutely no companion, and this is the only one. This is the only one with no companion. The Deadly Assassin was when he goes back to Gallifrey, and we really get to see Gallifrey for the first real time, like to really see it, where it's basically a Manchurian Candidate type of a story where the Doctor is trying to stop an assassination, and in doing so becomes a suspect of the assassination that inevitably does happen. It gets into the Matrix, and that talks about the regenerations a bit more, and we find the Master in a very, very creepy looking position. Basically, he's been extremely scarred, and this is a obviously regeneration that's pretty wrong. He's waiting to regenerate. He hasn't regenerated, and he looks, well, if you can see the cover there, the Master looks pretty friggin' horrific there, especially for a Doctor Who episode. This is one that Mary Whitehouse got really upset about. There's a scene in it where the Doctor is the villain in the episode tries to drown the Doctor, and is like shoving his head in the water, and she flipped out. So when they showed it again, they actually had to freeze frame that scene to like cut a little bit out to censor it. Unfortunately, when they freeze frame the scene, it actually looks more horrific than it did in the original cut of the scene. So Mary Whitehouse, it didn't work for you there. This is another one that I picked up during the Costco era of buying Doctor Who. It's got some great featurettes on it. Not the best story. It's pretty fun, but it's more of a period story. And it's The Mask of Mandragora. This was back when with Elizabeth Sladen and Sarah Jane. I was in love with Elizabeth Sladen. I think every boy that ever watched the Tom Baker era of Doctor Who loved the companions. And Elizabeth Sladen was no exception. She was the strongest of all the companions. And that's why she's remembered a lot more than most of the companions. She was just a really strong companion, a strong female character, and someone that a lot of the females that watched Doctor Who could look up to. Aside from like wanting to be the Doctor, it was nice to have this character that just wasn't screaming all the time. Was a journalist, and I just love Sarah Jane. Of course, she came back. She got her own series. After coming back, it was very successful, and it lasted until, unfortunately, Elizabeth Sladen succumbed to cancer very quietly. Nobody knew that she was even sick because that's the kind of girl she was. So rest in peace, Elizabeth Sladen. I do actually have her very last story, and it's actually autographed by Elizabeth Sladen as well, and that is The Hand of Fear. This was her last story originally. She, it's a cool little story. I kind of dig it. Of course, it starts off in one of those famous gravel pits that you see in a lot of the Doctor Who episodes because it's very cheap to film the gravel pit. It was sad to see her go. I remember the first time I saw this when I was young, and I really couldn't believe it was going to happen. I kind of thought the Doctor was going to come back and pick her up again, or that he'd get her at the beginning of the next episode. And I think for a few episodes afterwards, as a kid, I really thought he's got to go back and get Sarah Jane, because Sarah Jane is the Doctor's best friend, and never before had that really come through in the series. I mean, he'd had lots of companions. I mean, Jamie was a fantastic companion, and they really played off each other really well. But Elizabeth Sladen came across in the series as Tom Baker's, and she very much was, best friend. So it really plays like that, and so it was very sad when she shoots her last sequences in Doctor Who, and she makes a joke about saying that's it, she's not going to take it anymore. And the Doctor basically tells her that he has to go someplace. He has to go to Gallifrey, and humans aren't allowed to go there. He can't take her. So he leaves her back on Earth, and in classic Doctor Who style, he leaves in the wrong area. But it was a great story. I'm actually still saddened by Sladen's passing, and it's one of those people that you grow up with, and when you do it, you don't realize how much stuff that's like hits you, and you've never really met the person or anything like that. You just feel you can, like, just because you think you know them after all those years of watching them on TV and stuff. Horror Fang Rock was a fantastic episode. It was very gothic, kind of very thriller-esque. And all the time you see the Centaurans. You see them a lot, especially in the new series, especially with that with the character. But you rarely ever see those guys. Centaurans are a war race, and we know they're bred to fight another race. And we never see that other race except in this episode here, the Horror of Fang Rock. We actually see the creatures that the Centaurans are fighting. This will be the only time you'll see them, and it's a great story. This actually has okay, what's her name on this one? I think it's Leela was on that, right? So Leela was in this one here, and she was the one that came on after Sarah Jane. She was meant to be very different, and she was meant to get I think, the older male audience watching as well. She wore a lot of like kind of a her look was very much Raquel Welch from kind of 50 million years BC type thing. Next one up, I bought it at a charity shop, and that was The Leisure Hive. One of the later episodes. Strange episode. This is one of the originals. I really wanted this because, again, this is one of the originals that came out. See, there were the Doctor Who ones were brought out like in different, like, how do I put this? There's like some that were put out originally, like these, The Leisure Hive, and the original version of certain set episodes that would be redone. But they had like features on it, but not the features that you would see in, say, something like that in any of the ones that I showed you for like war games, like 3 discs and stuff like that. Leisure Hive was just a basic one with 1 disc, and like it had like a few features, but very, very little. That would really change. But to have one of the original Doctor Who releases is really, really harder to find and rare for around here, especially. So that's one I'm really proud of. The episode where you do get the line actually said, "Meet Sarah Jane. She's my very best friend." And Pyramids of Mars. A really great episode. I remember watching this when I was a kid. I remember my late Uncle Roll, who would I'd be up at their place, and I would be barely keeping my eyes open to watch Doctor Who because it would come on very late at night. And it wasn't like an episode; it was like the full thing. So it would show the whole Pyramids of Mars, the whole whatever. If it was a 2-hour one or an hour and a half one, whatever, it would show them all together. It was like one big movie. I would stay up late at night and watch it, and my uncle would always be like, it's time to go to bed. It's late. You got to get some sleep. And I'd be there, like my eyes would be like almost half closed. I'd be falling asleep, and he'd be like, get to bed. And I remember this one here. I was determined to watch it, and I think he must have sent me to bed twice before he finally let me watch it. And I miss my Uncle Roll, so yeah, this means a lot to me. Next up is the Peter Davison years as the Doctor, and we'll start off with the 25th anniversary edition episode, and that was the 5 Doctors. This was really cool because basically we get to see the first 5 Doctors. Now, originally Tom Baker was supposed to be in it, but there was contract negotiations fell through, so they took a scene from an unfinished episode called Shada, and they put that in there to show the Doctor getting like kind of stuck in a time warp where it kind of freezes him. Now, of course, William Hartnell had unfortunately passed on before this episode was done, so the hired actor Richard Hurdnall, who had been in Blake 7, and who had a kind of a very Hartnell feel to him, to do the role of William Hartnell's Doctor, and he did a really good job. I got to say, I got to give him credit. This is a really good addition, The 5 Doctors. It actually has a hidden commentary on it by David Tennant, so definitely worth checking out. It's a really good episode. We get to see Peter Davison, we get to see Patrick Troughton, we get to see John Pertwee. Those are the most active Doctors in it. And Richard Hurdnall, and of course we'll kind of see Tom Baker. We get to see a little bit of Shadow, which we didn't get to see before. Next up is another one that I grabbed. I think I grabbed this at Best Buy when it opened up. And it was out there for like $10 at the time. And it is King's Demons. It was like one of the shorter Doctor Who ones. I think it was like two episodes. So it runs about like 58, 60 minutes. So it would be like a normal Doctor episode now. But back then they ran like 20-something, 30 minutes long. Peter Davison does a great job. And of course this is the new master, Anthony Anley. Anthony Anley took a very different take, a very much more pantomime take on the master than the Roger Delgado did. And he did a great job. That Anthony Hanley was the type of actor that lived the role that he played. And he truly did live the role of the master when he was playing it. And it is amazingly fun. And it's very hammy. But I don't mean that in a bad way at all. I mean it in a complete and utter, sincerely good way. Hanley was my master that I knew more than I knew Roger Delgado at the time. And some people like talk about him now and say, less than what he did, but he did an amazing job, and he did it for many, many years, and was very faithful to the role and very faithful to the series. And I got to give Anthony Anley credit for that. Anthony Anley has unfortunately also passed on. His last thing that I think he did for Doctor Who was probably a video game that was done. This one actually has the character of the Chameleon, and it's this robot here that they bought. This kind of automaton. It's actually an automated man. Unfortunately, it took a lot to actually program the robot to do anything. So the robot was very, very quickly and quietly phased out of the series because he realized they spent a fortune on something they couldn't use. They could have had a mannequin and would have done more than this your chameleon character did. Next up is another period one called The Awakening, and again it's another of these shorter ones. So another ones I got at Best Buy for cheaper. Ran about 12 bucks, I think, for this one here. It's got some great features on here as well. I like Janet Fielding, so it's good to see her basically talking on here. Eric Seward is someone who's very vocal about Doctor Who, and if Seward's the guy I'm thinking of, I did have some issues with how he treated the series at the end, and especially how he treated Colin Baker. It was a damn shame. Next up is Colin Baker, actually, and it is Mark of the Rani. And I'm a huge fan of the Rani by Kate O'Mara. It's their signature there. The Rani, Kate O'Mara was also in a series called Dynasty that I used to watch a lot. She'd come back to do this, and Mark the Rani was the first introduction of the Rani. It's actually a character created by Pip and Jane Baker, who were extremely bad Doctor Who writers, but they were extremely quirky, and their hearts were in the right place, but their writing skills never really suited Doctor Who. But the Rani character really did, and really did well. It was interesting to see Anthony Anley playing off of Kate O'Mara on here. Colin Baker is in full force, well, really like booming and actually being the Doctor, whether you like it or not, and playing that role to its pinnacle. And of course, it has Perry, and I was in love with Perry. When you go back and you look at like actors from that era and see how they look now, sometimes you're like, oh, they've aged, they've gotten older. It's normal, but you kind of get shocked because you kind of have them in this little bubble of when you saw them. And if you see the actress that played Perry, Nicole Bryant, she really hasn't changed that much. She was that like companion that really, looks wise, she's just amazing. And aside from Colin Baker, there's one other extremely underrated Doctor. That would be Sylvester McCoy. I mean, he's extremely underrated. And if you listen to Colin Baker's and Sylvester McCoy's audios that Big Finish did, for me, they're the best. They're the best audios that they put out. And first up is his very first episode, Time and the Rani. And again, Kate O'Mara. This is one where basically they told Colin Baker to come back, film his exit scene, and that will be it. And he's like, he said, I'll tell you what, I'll come back, I'll do one more series, I'll go at the end of the series, and then you can have the new guy come in. And he said, nah, just come in for like one episode first. Or he said, or you can at least come in and do the scene. So he told them basically to shag off, and he wouldn't come in and do it. So Sylvester McCoy actually plays Colin Baker in a very, very bad blonde wig that kind of looks like a mop head at the beginning of this episode here. His changing into the Doctor is kind of tumultuous at best. Basically, the TARDIS gets hit by a ray, and he falls down, and he changes. Last but not least on my singles is Paradise Towers. It's just another fantastic Sylvester McCoy one. Unfortunately, this is one of his early ones, so this probably has a fantastic actress, and she did have a great chemistry with the Doctor, but she didn't have the right chemistry, or her character wasn't written strongly enough. Bonnie Langford was a stage actress, and an extremely, extremely good stage actress. Very, very held in high acclaim. Very much in the way Catherine Tate would be when she would become the Doctor's companion. That was, Catherine Tate was held in extremely high acclaim, and so was Bonnie Langford, and they both, of course, were gingers. But her character was all screams and hair, and that's a shame because they really missed the boat with Bonnie Langford's character. They could have done a lot with her, and they didn't do it. She seemed to play better off of Colin Baker, and I think if Colin Baker would have stayed on for at least another series, they could have fleshed out the character more, but maybe it's good that they didn't, because they actually were able to put on a character that really did suit Sylvester McCoy's Doctor, and actually, not only did it make Sylvester McCoy a better Doctor, but it gave a very strong companion to go out on, and that would be a character we're going to talk about really soon. So I gotta get this over here without letting it all fall down. So next up, some of my box sets. Let's start off with a couple like kind of randomy ones first. One was given to me by my dad, and these other two were given to me by my good friend and my cousin. Almost cousin. That's pretty much like a brother to me, Roger. And the first up was from my dad, and I really love this one. I really love this one. It's the Dalek collection. It has basically a Doctor Who and the Daleks and Dalek Invasion, an Invasion Earth Dalek. Was it 2150 or something? Yeah, 2150 AD. And there's stars Peter Cushing as Doctor Who, but he's kind of a human in this one, and he's made the TARDIS on Earth. It's very different. It's very colorful. It's the first time you'd see the Daleks and Doctor Who in color, and it's really cool to see. It's a very different like take on the Doctor. You can take it almost as an alternate reality, alternate universe Doctor, because it really doesn't fit in with the Doctor Who series at any point, really. Next up were some great ones that were given to me by my cousin that I really love, and those are the Doctor's Revisited, the first two sets I've got with, and the stories on these are the Aztecs, Tomb of Cybermen, Spirit from Space, Pyramids of Mars on this one here, and they got some great documentaries with each one of these, by the way. And on this one here, it had Earth Shock, which is a really great episode with Peter Davison, and The Shocking Death of a Companion. Vengeance on Varos, a really great Colin Baker episode that really talked about violence in media. Remembrance of the Daleks it wasn't amazing. It was an amazing Sylvester McCoy episode, and it had Doctor Who the movie, which is one that Paul McGann did. And Paul McGann, unfortunately, did not get to play the Doctor in the way that he should have been able to play the Doctor. He would only get to play him years later in kind of a little short film thing that came on before, so they could show the change into the War Doctor. First set that I've got is one that was given me for my birthday by my better half a few years back, and she did a whole Doctor Who birthday for me. With basically on the TV there was like a big kind of like a drawing. There ain't no party like a Time Lord party because Time Lord party don't end, and a huge TARDIS cake that was like huge, and we're eating it forever. So one of the things that I got was the beginning, the first three serials for Doctor Who: An Earthly Child, of course, the Daleks, or the Mutants as it's also called, and The Edge of Destruction. Edge of Destruction was like a kind of a filler one, kind of an in-between one, but The Edge of Destruction turned into my favorite one out of the three. It just has a really quirky, unique, very surreal type of aspect to it, and I really like that kind of the surreal aspect. And one thing, if you got this set, if you've ever picked it up, and you think like, oh my god, they've mislabeled it, and I don't have all the episodes, you actually kind of do, but a couple of these discs are actually mislabeled. You just put in the other disc, and you're like, oh no, I got them all. Next up is one, it's a 3-disc set, and it's kind of a fun one. It's another Wim Harton one. It's the Space Museum and The Chase. Now, as you know, probably, the Space Museum, I think the Space Museum was originally supposed to have the Beatles in it, but their manager nixed them from being in Doctor Who, and it was a shame because they really wanted to do it. But again, it's a really great set. Love the fact that they put some in there like this, and of course, autograph of William Russell. The Chase here is like it's a 2-disc set. It's got some great features on there, and of course, there's the Space Museum as well. Just some fun episodes that I really enjoyed. Next up is Mannequin Mania. This is John Pertwee's introduction to Doctor Who, and kind of that Master's introduction as well. We have Spirit from Space, which was the first episode with John Pertwee, and Terror of the Autons, which is, I'm not sure if it's the first episode of the Master or just an early episode of the Master. Maybe it was Carnival Monsters was the first episode. I'm not sure. But I know it's for sure is an early episode of the Master. I can't remember. Anyway, I think, so again, it's signed by some of the actors from the series as well. Katie Manning. Some great stuff on here. I love the Autons, and they really creep me out, kind of those mannequins moving type of thing. The Nestines would be used again in the new series, in the basically the opening one, where the Doctor, played by Chris Eccleston, comes out with the mannequins chasing after him, and he says, basically, hi, so my name's the Doctor, run. When Jon Pertwee played the Doctor, they had cut the budget a bit and they turned it from black and white to color. So one of the ways they were managed to like keep the budget down a little bit was to have the Doctor grounded, have the TARDIS like stuck, and he was basically banished Earth. So he would be fighting in this like as part of the science division of a military operation called UNIT, where we fight like against aliens and stuff like that would come down to Earth. And they did that for a while, and it actually turned out really well. So the was UNIT, which is actually in the series again now. Our Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, again, unfortunately, has passed away. They have an actress that plays his daughter on the show. Of course, the first one is Invasion of the Dinosaurs. I really dug this one, really fun, very cheesy special effects. But the one that creeped me out a lot was the Android Invasion. That's autographed by Benton. So that here sequence there with the fake Sarah Jane, the Android face. Back in the day, as a kid, really, really bothered me. Just one of those things that stuck in my head. And there's a lot of like these shows, the great ones, the Peladon tales, where they're kind of like more of like a introduction. It's not really an introduction, but brought back some the Ice Warriors. Had a little bit of like a kind of, you wouldn't really notice it if you're watching it as a kid, but there was kind of like a strong, like kind of an environmental, kind of a political vibe to these here, and just some really great stuff. Curse of Peladon and The Monster Peladon. Just two really, really fun episodes with Jon Pertwee. Next up is the Dalek Wars. The Dalek Wars will be the last episodes, I think, that Delgado would do. I'm pretty sure it's the last episodes Delgado did. So first we had Frontier in Space, and it was a great Master episode. We're really not given the villains until the very last sequence of the episode. And basically the Master brings back the Daleks, and so Planet of the Daleks is the next one, and it's a glorious, glorious episode. I've loved both of these here. So if you've never seen them, really, really are worth checking out. Frontier in Space, Planet of the Daleks, and the Dalek Wars box set. Next up is one that had Jon Pertwee and Tom Baker, and were some like random episodes that I guess they didn't know exactly where to put them. But they're very fun ones, Myths and Legends, and it has 3 episodes. It's got the Time Warrior, Underworld, and Horns of Nimon. So I'll just take those out and show you very quickly. So this is the Time Monster. So Jon Pertwee. We got Underworld, done by, that's Louise Jameson's autograph, who played Layla. And we have Horns of Nimon. Just some really, really great stuff. Some very cheesy episodes, by the way. Next up is the Legacy Collection, and this has a couple really cool ones on it. Basically, it's the episode that was never finished, Shada. So it's kind of like God, how'd you put this? They basically restore it from its original negatives and studio recordings and try to link it together to give you like a story. So Shada, the Lost Story, Doctor Who story, just 1 and just 2. Basically, you put it into your computer, and actually, I think there's an animated version of this one as well. Also, there's a great documentary on here that I really, really wanted. More than 30 Years in the TARDIS, which basically talks about all the Doctors and Doctor Who from the beginning of the series right up to the end, and even kind of hints about the fact that at the time Steven Spielberg was looking into taking the Doctor, making a film out of it, and I'm really, really glad he didn't. I would have been extremely upset if Spielberg would have done Doctor Who, because I'll honestly be able to tell you, I'm a fan of Spielberg, he would have messed it up. He would have completely messed up what the Doctor is, what the Doctor stands for, and would have very glossy, homogenized Doctor Who, which nobody wants. Now the next series of box sets are all based on either villains or heroes, companions. And the first one were 2 Cybermen ones, Revenge of the Cybermen and Silver Nemesis. Silver Nemesis was the silver anniversary of Doctor Who. And Revenge of the Cybermen is a personal favorite of mine. Now, this one here, Revenge of the Cybermen, is autographed by Philip Hinchcliffe, the producer at the time. And Doctor Who's Silver Nemesis is actually autographed by Sylvester McCoy, the Doctor, and Sophie Aldred. And I really do find I have fun with both these stories. I love the character base, by the way, which we'll get into once we get into a certain box set here. And there was one other really important autograph on this one here, and that would be this one right here. That's Tom Baker's autograph, the Fourth Doctor, and probably one of my most prized autographs in my possession. Next up is the very first box set of Doctor Who that I ever bought, and it was the Bred for War, the Sontaran collection, and it has like 3 Doctors on here. We got Jon Pertwee, 2 Tom Bakers, and a Colin Baker. I really wanted this one for the Colin Baker episode, to be honest with you, but I love all these. So we got the Tom Moore, which is the first one. It's the introduction of Sarah Jane. Very cool story. And then, of course, you have the Sontaran Experiment, the very first series that Tom Baker is in. I think this is the second episode, third episode. I think there was Robot, Ark in Space, and then the Sontaran Experiment. Next up is Invasion of Time. That's another of the Sontaran ones. Not my favorite of the Sontaran episodes, but it is very fun. And, of course, Louise Jameson is in it, and of course, you have K9, so that's a decent one as well. One I really dug was this one here, the 2 Doctors. That's Colin Baker, Patrick Troughton. We got Perry in this one. Of course, we got Jamie. I got to meet him not too long ago. He's a very nice man. Very down to earth and very fun. So meeting Fraser Hines is really cool. That's the actor that played Jamie McKinnon. If you ever watch Outlander, the character in Outlander is named after him. Next up is the Beneath the Surface, which basically is the Solarians and the Sea Devils. And it has 2 episodes by Jon Pertwee, which are amazing, and that's 1 episode by Peter Davison, which is really cheesily bad and lots of fun. So we have here the introduction, Doctor Who and the Solarians, very cool episode. And then we bring back with Doctor Who and the Sea Devils. That's a great sword fight, fencing scene with the Doctor and the Master. And Warriors of the Deep, which has some of the worst special effects you're ever going to see in Doctor Who, and that's saying something. Next up is K9 Tales. So this one has I think K9's first appearance, which is the Invisible Enemy, and how Doctor Who gets K9. And this is autographed by John Leeson, the voice of K9. And I also have as the episode K9 and Company, the first official spin-off of Doctor Who that basically was 1 episode. And if you've ever seen it, you'll know why it was 1 episode. It stars the very beautiful Elizabeth Sladen. Definitely at her peak right there. And, of course, K9. Speaking of some attractive actresses that did really well in the series, the character of Ace was a really great introduction. It was a younger character. It was meant to have a stronger character that the Doctor could kind of play off of. And Sylvester McCoy has kind of more kind of a physical, but kind of an older feel. He kind of harkened back to Troughton a bit in some of the physicality that he did. It's something you wouldn't see again until Matt Smith, who really actually watched Tomb of Cybermen and completely fell in love with Troughton's portrayal of the Doctor and decided, that's how I'm going to play Doctor Who. So if you're a fan of Matt Smith's Doctor Who, you're a fan of Patrick Troughton's, because it was a very similar thing. They both used their hands a lot when they played the character's role. And it was a conscious choice. They both had bow ties, because bow ties are cool. And added little aspects, kind of like different physical aspects that they'd use to play the role of the Doctor. The character of Ace was brought into it and immediately was a hit. Happiness Patrol, a great episode. And of course, the one that had the literal cliffhanger, Dragonfire. Again, Sophie Aldred. Just really great stuff. If you haven't seen these here, you really, really should check them out. And it's called Ace Adventures. It's a cool little box set. Has some great features on here as well. So let's go to the last set. And at least for the classic series, I really have kind of saved some of the best for last year, and it was definitely on purpose. So if you guys have managed to get through 44 minutes of this, you're getting to the really cream of the crop of stuff that I've gotten here. And first off is I wanted to get some of the series that ran together, ones that were actual complete storylines. So first off, we'll start off with the Black Guardian trilogy. Basically, these are the three stories that like highlight the Black Guardian: Terminus, Enlightenment, and Madrid Undead. The, of course, was Peter Davison's Doctor, and they added in this a newer character that by Mark, what's his name again? Mark Strickson, I think. Yeah, he played Turlo. Anyway, so Turlo was basically to kill off the Doctor, but he was actually too nice to do it. Of course, the beautiful Sarah Sutton's autograph there, and she's right on the cover. And Terminus have Enlightenment, and there's Janet Fielding, and of course Modern Undead, which of course highlights Turlo. Just some very fun episodes. I like the Black Guardian. I would kind of like to see him come back in the new series. Next up is New Beginnings. This one here is pretty much the box set that says goodbye to Tom Baker and says hello to Peter Davison. Basically, every year Tom Baker would come in near the end of the series and he would go, so I think that I've done enough, and so I think I'm going to give it up this year. And then every year they go, no, Tom, just do one more, just do one more year. So it comes upon this year, and Tom Baker comes in, and that usually what happens normally, because he wasn't getting along with the producer as well, and some of the directors, because Tom Baker was very, he had a very strong opinion on how he wanted the Doctor to be played. He played the Doctor for 7 series, and he pretty much knew the character inside and out, more so than a lot of the people that came on and wrote and directed and produced the series. And he was like, no, I think I'm going to leave this year. And it was silent. And so the writing was on the wall then. And Tom soon left, and he hired on Peter Davison, who had just gotten off of the series All Creatures Great and Small, and been very successful in that series. Now, Peter Davison was a young actor at the time, and I think it was in his late 20s, maybe early 30s, and I can't remember his exact age, but I remember it was a big deal that they had a Doctor that was so young. But the Doctors had been kind of getting progressively younger, but they thought that he was too young, too pretty to play the Doctor, and they would actually surround him with companions to try and offset that fact in the early part of the series, which is such a shame because Peter Davison, I like him, but he's a very quiet, understated actor, and sometimes that can go against some of the stories that he wants to do. Doctor Who is a very big, flamboyant, boisterous character a lot of the times. That's just the way that the character is done, the way that he's been created and used. And Peter Davison did a very unique take on the role that sometimes I think is underrated and not thought of as strong as it really is. And the set here was New Beginnings. Now, one of the cool things about this New Beginnings set is it actually does have an hour-long documentary on the Tom Baker's leaving of the series and Peter Davison's being brought in. The stories here are Keeper of Traken, which I think is the strongest of the 3 stories. This is also the introduction of Anthony Anley's The Master. We have Logopolis. There we see Anthony Anley's Master kind of full for the first time, and a character there. See that mysterious character, the Watcher. Well, you'll find out who he is if you watch the episode. And the introduction of Peter Davison in Castrovalva. Not one of my favorites, and definitely not a strong way to introduce a new Doctor, but I could see what they were doing and how they were going about it. Again, not one of my favorite episodes. I do find it kind of fun. It's kind of interesting to watch. There's some great features on here. But Keeper of Traken is by far the strongest of the 3 episodes that are on here. Next up is the fantastic 6-part series. This was a complete, as you would call it, season here. It's called series over in Britain. The Key to Time. And this had, of course, the late, please don't let me forget, Mary Tamm. Yeah, Mary Tamm. She played the first Romana before Layla Ward took over the role. And so there's 6 episodes here, serials. It's got the Ribos Operation, the Pirate Planet, Stones of Blood, the Androids of Terra, the Power Crawl, and the Armageddon Factor. And it's really well done, really well put together. Like a book. It runs like 7 discs. One of them runs has 2 discs with it, and that's the Armageddon Factor. There are some amazing features on this one all throughout the sets. Got some great features. Basically, there's Anthony Reid, A Matter of Time, like a 60-minute one. We've got a Villain for All Seasons. We've got a Philip Maddock. We just did like a few different characters in here. We have a 69-minute one, basically, which is late night stories read by Tom Baker. So check that out. just such amazing stuff. It's really worth having. My better half surprised me with this one. I did not expect to get it, but I did, and I'm very, very happy to have it. Very, very. Next up in a complete series that I think is probably one of the best and most fun and most underrated, and definitely has some of the greatest features, is Trial of a Time Lord. 18 months is too long to wait. Bring back the Doctor, don't hesitate. Basically, the Doctor Who had been off for 18 months. It was taken off the air to be, it was coming back, as the BBC said. Michael Grade, who was also passed on by the way, is now, was, wife apparently did not like Doctor Who, and she wanted him to get rid of the series. Of course, he listened, and eventually got rid of Doctor Who. He tried very, very hard to get rid of it, and they actually talk about that in here. One of the guys that talks, the one that's still alive, the other guy that works with Grade to get Doctor Who off the air, actually kind of congratulates himself, saying Doctor Who came back stronger because they took it off the air, which is utter crap. Doctor Who was actually going extremely strong, and Colin Baker was starting to find his mojo as the Doctor, and was really becoming a strong. He was a strong character actor. He was very much a flamboyant stage actor. When he played the Doctor, he took command and presence, which hadn't been taken for a while. Peter Davison had played it very low key and very to the cuff, and this was not Colin Baker's thing. Colin Baker was put in it, and he was given this like cartoonish type outfit, which I dig, but he was really not a fan of. And you want to have like eventually go to kind of a blacker outfit, more similar to what you'd see the Doctor wear now. But he did a great job. Trial of Time Lord was literally the trial of like Doctor Who being taken out there. There's a great hour-long feature on them, basically them trying to get Doctor Who back on and what happened over that, and even show the. They thought it would be a great idea. I guess the producer at the time thought it would be a fantastic idea if they would go out, and Jonathan Turner did, and pretty much because Live Aid had been around doing stuff like dude, it's Christmas time and all those like charity records that were made for like starving countries. So he thought, Johnny Turner thought, let's get get some of the actors from Doctor Who and some like singers, some other lower singers on the run, and let's make a Doctor Who kind of a charity record, trying to get it brought back, kind of a publicity stunt. And I'm sure it's a pretty rough watch, but you really got to check it out. If you don't have the set, I really do recommend Googling it. It's YouTubing it. It's basically I'll Bring Back the Doctor. It's 18 months is too long to wait. It's just really, really, you've got to see the video. You really got to see the video. First one up in the Trial of Time Lord was The Mysterious Planet. It's kind of a fun one. Next one's probably the most watched. It's got Brian Blessed in it, and we get to see the sad, tragic ending of Perry, who is unfortunately killed in this one here. We have Terra the Vervons, who kind of look like. Just look at them for a second. Yeah, they have a unique look. That even as a kid, I kind of knew what they looked like. And of course, the last one is the Ultimate Foe, which introduces the Valeyard. And kind of throws you out there because only Anthony Anley making you think that he's going to be like the main villain, but he's not. It's actually the Valeyard, and the Valeyard is a very important character. Originally, this was going to be written by Robert Holmes, who wrote the first episode. And Robert Holmes is probably one of the best writers for Doctor Who. He wrote during the Tom Baker era, and him and Philip Hinchcliffe kind of worked together. Philip Hinchcliffe was the producer. Robert Holmes is the writer of some of the very best Tom Baker episodes of Doctor Who that you're going to see. A lot of gothic horror, a lot of the kind of pushing the boundaries type of stuff. That will be Robert Holmes' work. He was going to pretty much bookend this. Unfortunately, Robert Holmes passed away. Eric Seward was a proponent of Holmes, and he was going to do it. He wanted to do it with the ending that Holmes had originally intended for it. Now, the ending that Holmes originally intended for it would have been great, except for the fact that Doctor Who may not come back, and they really needed some sort of definitive ending that wasn't going to leave it on too much of a cliffhanger that would make it seem like, okay, maybe the Doctor didn't escape this time. He wanted something to say, okay, the Doctor's coming back. Seward didn't like that. He wouldn't do the episode. They gave it to Pip and Jane Baker, who actually got their start writing Doctor Who on earlier with Mark Thorani, and they did this one here, The Ultimate Foe. the next three are three that I'm going to tell you right now. If you're a fan of Doctor Who at all, get these sets. I mean, I'm seriously, like, if there's 3 sets of Doctor Who you can get. These are the 3 to get right out. No thing. And if you're coming into Doctor Who for the very first time and you want to see the classic Doctor, these next 3 sets I'm going to show you are ones to get. These sets were sets that were of some of the very, very best Doctor Who episodes that were issued early on with very crap features, and so they were reissued, revisited, and that's why they were called revisitations with ultimate like special edition sets. So first off is the excellent Tom Baker episode. It's the 3 set, The Towns of Wing Chang. I hope I got the name right. It's been a while since I watched the episode. That's a very kind of Sherlock Holmesian, you can see, aspect to it. There's some great kind of cool like villains. You have like this Fu Manchu type of villain. Got some cool cheesy effects that you're really going to enjoy, and a ton of features on here. I mean, like, there is a ton of features on this. Some Blue Peter stuff as well. Blue Peter was like a children's show over in England, but they'd have a lot of this stuff. You see a lot of Doctor Who sets will show like something from Blue Peter, because Blue Peter will like highlight Doctor Who in their series. And this will be the best Peter Davison episode, and unfortunately the swan song Peter Davison as well. And the introduction of Colin Baker's Doctor was very brash and very unlikable at the beginning, as it was meant to be. And it's the Caves of Androzani. And Caves of Androzani is a very good episode. We have Perry in there, who looks beautiful because she's Perry, who Nicole Bryant is an extremely beautiful woman. And where was I again? Oh yeah, it's a very great episode. If you haven't seen Caves of Androzani, this is one of the tops. This is in the top 10, if not the top 5 best Doctor Who episodes. Next up is the movie. This was a kind of a BBC Fox production where they were going to bring it back on Fox as a series, kind of like a 1-hour weekly type series. They brought in Paul McGann. It was a fantastic choice. They brought in a few different actors, and Sylvester McCoy you got to see his regeneration. And they brought in Eric Roberts, who played the Master. I know Eric Roberts, who I love, he thinks a fantastic, fun actor, did not do a good job as the Master, but this is a fantastic set. You really got to check it out. Next up are 3 more fantastic ones from Revisitations 2. As you can tell by now, there are 3 revisitation sets. First, we start off with an amazing Patrick Troughton episode, Seas of Death, of course, with the Ice Warriors in there. And it's just extremely good. It's got some great features on here. Monsters that came back for more, like different monsters that were in multiple Doctor Who episodes. Of course, it's a 2 set. Amazing set. Love it. Carnival of Monsters, another fantastic one. Another one, again, it's the 2 set. Some really great stuff on here. We've got, of course, John Pertwee. It's the Pertwee episode. Some kind of cool, cheesy effects. They do another Target one, this one with Ian Marter. Of course, Ian Marter played Harry Sullivan on Doctor Who, and he would later go on to pen many Doctor Who novelizations, and was a very big fan of the series. He, as unfortunately, has also passed on. But this is a great talk about the actor and the novelist right here. And of course, we have the Peter Davison one of my favorite Peter Davison episodes, Resurrection of the Daleks. We bring back Davros, and Janet Fielding gets to say the now infamous line, "It's just not fun anymore, Doctor," and she leaves. She has one of the most, the harshest, leaving sequences, until you'd see Donna Noble in the Christmas episode basically tell him that she's not going with him, but to find somebody, because without someone to guide him, to keep him down, he can become a very harsh, very hard, very cruel person. This would become more prevalent in the episode Ghosts of Mars during the Doctor Who specials. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Next up is the last 3 visitation sets. It's a shame because these sets did really well. They were fairly inexpensive back in the day. They're more expensive to get now. But they decided, hey, people really love these special editions. Why don't we just put them out on their own and not put them in box sets? Yeah, that's what happened. So again, there's 3 more on here. First off is the excellent Tomb of the Cybermen, Matt Smith's very favorite episode, and I can tell you why. It's a fantastic freaking episode. This, again, is a 2 set. Yeah, it just has some amazing stuff on it, and if you haven't seen it, you really, really should. Next up is the 3 Doctors, the introduction of the character of Omega, which I'm surprised he's not come back in Doctor Who in the new series, because Omega is like this renegade Time Lord that you think that he would kind of bring into the series, and I would hope that they do bring him in sooner or later. Patrick Troughton, John Pertwee, and of course Richard Hartnell. Richard Hartnell was sick when this was being done, and he shot his pretty much off camera. I think it was at his house, and basically was sitting, and he would just like say his lines kind of into the camera type of thing, because he would be shown on a monitor on the TARDIS screen. And it was great having him back anyway, and he just did a fantastic job in the series, especially for being so ill. He did amazing. Great episode. Really did love this one. Next up, the only one disc one of them, but it doesn't matter because it's a really good one. Special edition one. It's Robots of Death. It's pretty much an Agatha Christie type mystery in space with of course, the Tom Baker, and again, it's just another fantastic one. You would think it's just in that era, the really good era of Doctor Who. Baker just couldn't be topped. So that's my classic Doctor Who. But do I have any like newer stuff? That's the thing. So you're probably wondering what I've got in the newer Doctor Who series. So let's get to that now. Unfortunately, I only have one thing to show you with the new Doctor Who series. That would be this. Doctor Who Complete Series 1 to 7 Limited Edition Blu-ray gift set. And if you're a Doctor Who fan, then you know what this is. So we'll open it up and look at it here. So first off, you'll see is for display use, or you actually use. I've never used it. I've actually just had it in my display, and it is the sonic screwdriver. This one actually is a remote control, a TV remote control. Can use that as well. It's a very big, it's a very hefty one. I'll just open it up here so you guys can see, get a better look at it. It does have a bit of heft onto it. I do have a an actual other kind of like screwdriver that I can use in some of my videos, and you'll see me have it. And it's a very hefty one. You can see the base here, kind of the Doctor's. I'm extremely proud of this set. It's maybe one of the most proud sets I own, and I own a lot of this stuff. We also have with this all 7 series of the original Doctor in the new show. So basically, and bonus. So basically, you have Doctor Who, the complete first series with Christopher Eccleston. Of course, this is the introduction of Billie Piper's Rose character. We have the second series here with David Tennant, who would actually more popularize the Doctor and make it more mainstream. He would become kind of like the Tom Baker of this era Doctor Who. He would make Doctor Who extremely, extremely popular and will become very loyal to the series. This one it brings the Daleks back. This one is more along the lines of like the Cybermen are introduced. Here's the Master one. This one has, of course, Martha Jones, who I love, and of course has the Master, who is my favorite. And in my workplace, where on my Google Gmail, if I have Johnson's Master there. That's my display picture. The modern companion that I most loved. I thought she was amazing. She was funny. She was smart. She was spunky. She was extremely beautiful. In my opinion, that would be Donna Noble. I love Donna Noble. Catherine Tate did an amazing job. The Dr. Donna was really cool. And I just really love the way this was done. This had some great stuff. And it ends off with a really big companion-filled series finale. And it's just had some great stuff. We got to see Davros in this one here as well. And we get to see another incarnation of the Doctor. Well, we'll still keeping it David Tennant. Now, they didn't do any series. They didn't do a series 5 right away. Instead, what they did was they took a year off and they made like 4 different specials. And 4 or 5, yeah, 4. And that year they did like the Doctor didn't have any companions with him. There was a different companion every episode, and he was kind of a darker Doctor. He was getting to the change. So we go the next Doctor, Planet of the Dead, Waters of Mars, and The End of Time, parts 1 and 2. End Time brings back the Master as John Sims, and we see the exit of David Tennant and the introduction of Matt Smith. There's some great featurettes on here, some amazing stuff, and it's just really, really cool. love to have these on Blu-ray as well. It's really, I really need to get Series 8. I badly do need the first Peter Capaldi series. Of course, there's the fifth series here, the introduction of Matt Smith, and the extremely beautiful, extremely beautiful Karen Gillan. She is just amazing, and she is so spunky and cool. It's the first time that you'll get to see a married couple in the TARDIS, which is also a very extremely cool thing. Then we have the sixth series of Doctor Who. Again, another Matt Smith. Matt Smith is Hin's actually. It's her favorite Doctor. That's the one that she loves the most in the modern day incarnation. Anyway, next up is the seventh series. We get to see Clara come into it. Clara Oswald, who would become an extremely important character. Some people didn't like her and thought it became too much of the Clara show. Maybe it's because I'd seen her before, and I think she's a gorgeous girl, and it was nice to see her play a very different, kind of spunkier, unique character in Doctor Who, and I really did like her. And of course, the last but not least is the bonus disc, and it has the Brit list, Doctor Who's Ultimate List of Lists, the Best of Christmas specials, Doctor Who at the Proms, just some really cool stuff. So that's some great bonus material here. Like basically, there's a whole kind of like the best Doctor Who moments from the modern era, best of the Christmas specials, and of course the musical proms, which is done on a yearly basis. And that's not all it has. It also has some character for basically pictures. So really well done as well. We have Christopher Eccleston, David Tennant, and of course Matt Smith. And of course there's a just one of those like catalogs and stuff with toys and all that. But another thing, I had a exclusive a Blu-ray special comic that's put in for this one, and it's a really good comic. There are so many Easter eggs and classic moments and characters in this here comic, and just look at that. Zygons, of course, before they'd come back. Just some really cool stuff. If you've never seen it, you really got to. It's a really good comic, and this is an amazing set. So, there we go. One of my favorite characters of all time was Doctor Who. I grew up with it. My late uncle tried many times to send me to bed when I would just stubbornly stay up and watch Doctor Who over and over again. And here we have it. My entire Doctor Who collection. I do want to get more. There are certain series. There's a few box sets that I still really need to get. Certain singles that I really need. Survival, the very last Doctor Who episode of the original series, is one that has always been high on my list. I do want to pick that one up down the road. So here it is, just so you guys can see it. Oh. Doctor Who Complete Series 1-7. And coming in at 1 hour and 8 minutes. Thanks for watching. If you guys got through this, really do appreciate it. I'm a really big fan of Doctor Who, and this is something that's near and dear to my heart. Hopefully you can tell by the time that I took to actually talk about the series and some of my favorite episodes. I'm going to come back at sometime and actually talk about some of my favorite episodes that I got. Maybe some of the ones that I want to get. But for right now, things at the top of my list in Doctor Who that I need. I need to grab the East-Based trilogy. I really want to get that. The introduction of Adric. The swan song of course, Layla Ward's Romana, and original Goodbye for K9. Also, I want to grab Survival, the very last Doctor Who episode. I would love to have a lot more of Sylvester McCoy, because I really like him, and I think he's really underrepresented in my in stuff that I got. And I've only got like 3 or 4 McCoys, and he's got some amazing stuff. Battlefield was a good McCoy episode. Oh God, I can't remember the name of it right now, but there's a really good one with Ace, where basically they go back in time where they actually meet her mother. It's just incredible, and I'm sure you guys remember it. I'm not sure if it's Ghostlight, something like that. But thanks for watching, guys. This is a labor of love for me, especially in this. I do a lot of these here videos, and I like. Well, you can tell when I like something. My Scream Factories, my Arrows, like stuff that I really like. But Doctor Who is my. This is my show. This is the character that I, of course, want to grow up and be. I was crisscrossing. Did I want to be the Doctor? Did I want to be the Master? Or did you want to be like kind of like somebody in between? Everybody's a little Doctor, a little Master in them, I think. Hopefully, you're more Doctor than Master. Now, again, thank you guys for watching. So, for me right now, say hello to the Pin Lord in the sky and his buddy the Phantom. I'm talking for 70 minutes. It's time for tea. Have a great night. And go enjoy some Doctor Who and get a really good one. You know, one of those where you're watching from behind the couch, just like you did when you were a kid. Have fun. And remember, bow ties are cool.